Alright, welcome to another one of my Thunderbird 1990s Super Coupe repair videos. Please subscribe and like so that maybe someday I can actually get a penny for these videos. So, the other day I was driving down the highway and smoke was pouring out of the back of my car, but I thought it was somebody else. And I was like, wow, somebody back there is burning oil. And then the passenger friend of mine said, "That's you, man, that's you." I said, "What? My car?" And I kept looking in the rearview mirror, and it's just oil pouring out, smoke pouring out of the back of my car. So the oil was coming out of the bottom of the engine, hitting the exhaust and smoking like crazy. So I pulled over. I always keep extra fluids in the trunk. I poured some more oil in there. The dipstick was empty. Poured some more oil in there. Started the engine. Looked under there, and it was just pouring out like a bathtub overflowing out of the bottom of the engine. So I had to have it towed. One of the few times in my life I have to get it towed. It cost me $220. So I took it home and I put more oil in it, put it on the driveway, got underneath it with the camera, and tried to find where's the oil coming from. I couldn't see where the oil was coming from. Even jacked up, always use a jack stand, big strong jack stand. Got underneath it. Put the cell phone under with the camera. Looked all around, could not see where the oil's coming out, but I can't even see where it's coming from. So that's really a freaky situation, because you don't know what it is. It could be a hole in the side of the engine. I don't know what the heck is going on. So I asked Google AI if oil is coming out a lot on the left side of the engine. It's not coming out of the oil filter, because I can see the oil filter is closed up. It's good. What is it? And Google said that it's the oil pump gasket, most likely on that side. So I said, okay, well, I have no choice now. I have to take it all apart. And I started taking it. It's very hard to get to, but you can do it. I did it successfully, and you can do it. So don't get discouraged. The first thing, you got to move a lot of the little, whatever's under there. You have to kind of loosen it up, move it around. I have everything kind of clamped up with zip ties. My car has if you've seen my other videos, it has the brake system has been converted to the one that runs off the power steering pump, because the supercharger, you can't use vacuum because there's no vacuum available. And they put an electronic one on. I go through all this in the other video. There's no parts for the electronic one. If you get a used one, it's probably just going to break real fast. So the system is I forgot the name. I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, it involves running hydraulic transmission lines from the oil, the power steering pump, to the brake booster. and back down into, it's also the same. Okay, the power steering pump runs the steering unit, makes your wheels go back and forth. So there's pipes coming out of that have to be hooked up to the pipes coming out of the brake booster. So there's a whole network of hydraulic lines under there. So when you have, and then there's also transmission lines, there's a transmission cooler, there's all this stuff is underneath there. So there's like a lot of the view of underneath there is hydraulic lines now. It's a lot. So I had to, and they'll hang down if you don't use the zip ties. So I had to cut all the zip ties. I started moving all the hydraulic lines. And you can take, the other problem, well, we'll get into that in a minute. But there's 6 bolts on the oil pump. And you have to reach up in there. 2 of them are smaller heads, and 4 of them are larger. It's like, I don't know if it's 10 millimeters and 8 millimeters, but you have to reach up in there and you have to unscrew all 6 bolts. And some of them are hard to find. Sometimes you got to move extension socket extensions around, you little ones, big ones. You have to try everything in your toolbox, basically. Like you're going to have your whole toolbox out there, probably. But you got little extensions. I guess they're 1/4. You got 3/8 extensions. You got 3/8 handheld sockets, 1/4 sockets. Adapters to go from 3/4 to 1/4. You got to try everything. All different. And then finally, you go up in there. Sometimes you don't use any extensions at all because none of them will fit. Some you need a big long extension to get it around support beams. But essentially you have to get that oil pump off. And you can do it. It's hard. It took me like altogether about 4 days to get it back together. 2 days to get it off and 2 days to get it back on. The new one was $108 at AutoZone. 2 days to get it off, 2 days to get the new one on. Like, you get most of it off, you get tired, so you rest for a day, then you try to put the new one on. Got to do research. Get it mostly on, then you get tired, you got to go do it again the next day before you can test it. Testing it was scary because I wasn't sure if that was even a problem at all, because there's a front plate on the engine. And when they give you the oil pump, they give you this little valve and a spring and a cap, 3 pieces. So the first thing you got to realize is you can't use those. Those are inside the front cover of the engine. They're oil regulator. It's an oil regulator valve that might be stuck. And that might have caused the problem. But you can't take the front of that engine off, the front plate, to get to it, unless you take the whole front of everything off that engine. Which I certainly didn't want to do. Or if I was going to do it, it'd be like a year-long project. Like everything on the front of that engine got to come off if I wanted to save the car engine. So I put those 3 on the side because I can't use them. They're inside the front plate. And if it's stuck, it's just going to have to be stuck. Now sometimes if it stuck, causes too much oil pressure or not enough oil pressure. So I don't know. Maybe it's stuck, maybe it's not. There's nothing I can do about it. There's a maybe put some like valve lubricant in the oil. Sometimes that'll loosen it up, but you know. Anyway, so along with, if you got this car, a 1990 Ford Thunderbird Super Coupe with the supercharged engine, they put an oil cooler on there. So let me show you the oil cooler. Okay. Now, it's stuck. Hold on. Okay. This is the oil cooler. 2 pipes. You see? And what that does is, when they first built the car, they determined that because it has a supercharger, and I guess if you bought it new and you want to race around town, everybody, your oil's going to get hotter because of the supercharger. Before I bought the car, it had already been unhooked. So what it does is there's a pipe coming out of the water pump, circulates around. I don't even know where the other pipe goes, but no water comes out, so that's okay. Somewhere it's clogged up. But the pipe was already unhooked, so it wasn't cooling it anyway. So when you remove that, which you remove it like a big screw, similar to the oil filter, it's kind of like the same size screw as the oil filter. So it just goes in between the oil filter and the oil pump. So the oil pump, theoretically, well, not theoretically, you can screw the oil filter directly onto the oil pump and eliminate the oil cooler that runs antifreeze lines, water, through the radiator into the oil cooler. But as far as I'm concerned, I put a new radiator on. I put a new electric fan on in front of the radiator, and then I bought an additional radiator fan that blows it from Summit Racing from the front. So there's one pulling it in the back and one pushing it in the front. And the new radiator, it stays cool. I think the old radiator was clogged up, which I have a radiator video to show you also. Had to cut out the old radiator with the angle grinder.
By the way, you fucking did this shit in front of him. You do it every fucking time. You don't care.
White trash.
You're an asshole, Brandon. Get a fucking grip, dickhead.
Okay. That's the neighbors, doesn't it? You know. Anyway. So, you can just eliminate that oil cooler. Okay? And if you keep an eye on your temperature gauge, you know when it's getting overheated, you turn the engine off, but I haven't had any problems. 2 fans, new radiator, no oil cooler, stays cool. I don't race it around, but it stays cool. And that's all. I drive it like an old lady. It's a hot rod, but I drive it like an old lady because it's an old car. It's 35 years old. I'm not out here to race it around and make myself do extra work when things break down. So I showed you the oil cooler that's been cut out. Now, if you cut it out, you have to clog up the radiator lines Now if you remove the oil pump cooler that I just showed you, you have to stop up the radiator lines coming from the water pump, or to just shoot the water out. So both sides, I guess, in and out, have to have, you can put like a bolt in there with a radiator clamp. Somebody, I guess, already did that in order for it in order for it to be not leaking out. Because I think that I could see the hose goes into the water pump, but somebody blocked it off already, so I don't have to worry about it. It's blocked off. But if you eliminate that, before I eliminated it, it could barely squeeze in a regular size oil filter. It would hit the crossbar. Which I'm like, who designed this that you can't even screw in a full size, the one that's picked for it, you can't screw it in. And when you did screw it in, since it's rubbing on the crossbar, it rubs a hole in it and leaks oil out. I had that problem too. So I found one that screws on that's a smaller, half the size, to get it to screw on right. That could have been part of the problem if that was clogged up. It blew out the gasket. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But when you eliminate the oil pump cooler, oil filter cooler, whatever you want to call it, you can now fit the full size one on with no problem. Doesn't touch anything. So that's one plus of removing that. Besides the fact that at some point it may start leaking water out of it because there's all these weird connections. So then when you're supposed to prime it after you change it, but if I didn't prime it because I don't want to take apart the cam and have a dummy cam bar go down in there to prime it. I'm like, man, that's a lot of work. So you fill up the oil filter with oil and you soak. Okay, you pour a gallon of oil, fresh oil, into like an ice cream bucket. So you drop that new oil pump. It says it in the directions. You drop that in there and let it soak so that it gets all inside all that oil pump parts. Then you pull it out, you drip it out, then you pour that fresh oil back in the oil container. Then you fill up the oil filter with oil. So you put the new oil filter on full of oil. That should be good enough to prime it, which I think it was fine for me, because then I just idled the engine for a while. I didn't rev it up, just idle it. And that should have been fine, because I've been driving it on the highway and it's not causing a problem anymore. It works fine. But the problem is that the oil pressure gauge is working backwards. When it's off, it's halfway up. When it's running, it goes to 0. Now, I don't know if there's a short or the sensor they gave me from AutoZone is working backwards or positive and negative. I don't know. You can't even figure it out because nobody's going to tell you that. Like AutoZone can't tell you, Google can't tell you why it does that. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to put in a new mechanical oil pressure gauge. I'm going to take out the electrical one and put a mechanical one in there. Because if it does it again, I want to see the gauge go from whatever it's at, 20 pounds or whatever, to 0. That's what it should do. But since mine never really worked, like even when I drove it around, it was always at 0. I thought, I don't know if something's wrong or whatever, I'll just keep driving it. Now I want to see the pressure, the mechanical pressure gauge, not electrical. I might run that into the dashboard. So let me show you. Oh, my back. Oh, let me show you. Oh, sometimes you work too hard and you get old, the old back gives out on you. So let me show you what you want to do. Okay, I put a new $2,000, probably more than that, $2,500 transmission from to AOD from Performance PATC, Performance Automatic Transmission Company on the internet. Make some nice transmissions. But every car should have a transmission temperature gauge. And you see how you start out at 0, the car warms up. Usually it'll be around 180. So 180 is right about there. When you see it go, if you see it go up into this yellow, it's too hot for your transmission. It goes into red, you're just burning your transmission up. So you need to keep an eye on where this needle's at. So you have to, this is an auxiliary, you have to order this by itself, hook it up into the transmission cooling lines. Oh, I also have a transmission cooling filter. Cooling radiator, auxiliary transmission cooling radiator in front of the radiator. So the radiator, the regular radiator has a transmission cooler in it. Okay. The one coming from, and that's where you hook this up to. You just put it in between the lines and run the wire up to it. Then I have an additional radiator, transmission cooler, auxiliary transmission cooler in front of the normal radiator with the fan in front of that. So it goes electric fan in the front, pushing towards the engine, transmission cooler, radiator, fan, regular fan, pulling it to the engine, and that combination keeps everything cool. So we go over here, and this is the temperature gauge, which works. So I rely on that. If it ever went to all the way in the middle, I would turn the engine off because that's too hot. It should be no more than 1/4 of the way. Like if you had a tank of gas, it'd be a quarter tank. It shouldn't go much past 1/4 of a tank. If it does, you're overheating. Your engine is starting to overheat. So 1/4 on that. I guess you know the middle top is the vacuum. Got your RPMs, your fuel. And then this is the one, the oil pressure, which says it's halfway up, but if I turn the engine on, it goes to 0. So it doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is I have this down here that I bought. And the project of today, I don't need the water temperature. I could do the volts. The volts could tell me if the alternator's working. It should be at 13 volts, so I'm going to hook that one up. And there's the oil. So I have to replace the oil sensor with a mechanical oil sensor, which is in this bag with the little plastic tube where the oil goes, and then you find which adapters fit the car. And then here's some little lights and wires for the back of this. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this I'm gonna take the water out, and I'm gonna put the transmission, and then I'll have those three filling this spot. You see that used to be a radio spot? I'm gonna fill that spot with these. Okay, and then the water is gonna be the transmission water. Take that out. And that's the project for today. So I'm gonna have to run that tube through here and down into the engine, and that'll tell me what my oil pressure is. And the other thing I wanted to tell you was, so when you're under here doing the oil filter, you see this big bar in the front? You can unbolt that to give you more hand room. The only problem was, to get it back on, I had to hook a strap because the holes wouldn't line up. I needed more pressure than I could push with my leg or arm. So I hooked a strap up, and you click, like when you tie down strap, you go click, 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 click. And that pulled it into place. So I hooked one in the front, the hook, and one back there on the frame. Pulled it into place, and so that thing there is a filter, transmission filter for the Hydro Boost. That was the word I was looking for, the Hydro Boost. So that keeps the Hydro Boost. The Hydro Boost is very sensitive to small debris that can clog up, which it did when I first installed it. It clogged up right away. So there's a transmission oil filter for the Hydro Boost that goes to the power steering unit. And up here, I'll show you, this is the fan in the front. And right behind it, you can see the transmission cooler that I was telling you about. And then the radiator. I took the air conditioner radiator out because I don't have air conditioning. And I wanted as much air going through here. I got a sunroof, and put the windows down is all I need. And right now it's running good. I just want to make sure I know what the oil pressure is. So the oil pressure sensor is down. You can see a shiny new one down there. I don't know if you can see it. I think the camera's in the wrong angle. Let me try. No, it goes this way. It's down. Okay, right there. You see that? That's the oil pressure sensor with the wire, the orange wire cap on top. And that's what's giving me the false reading. So I don't know. That's where I have to hook up the new oil pressure. So it looks like I'm going to have to take this belt off. Be able to get my hand through there just right again. Let me show you the Hydro Boost. If you want to see that. The Hydro Boost. And this metal line is Hydro Boost. So it's not a lot of room to work on this car, but it's kind of nice.